I'm from the USA. I'm from China. I'm a Christian. I'm Jewish. I'm a member of my family. Well, I'm a member of my family. 20 years ago, this is how you would identify yourself to a stranger. Nowadays, it's a little more like this. I'm in the Homestuck fandom. I'm in the Undertale fandom. I'm a crazed has-been hotel stan. Nowadays, the most important aspect of any of our identities, our only source of community, is fandoms. And I think this is a great thing because at the end of the day, fandoms are people that have something that's actually in common among all of them. A love of a cartoon, usually for children. Whereas this other stuff, your family, your country, is just meaningless twaddle and does not make you cool, unlike being a part of the has-been hotel fandom. I'm Tony Zaret. I'm one of the hosts of the How to Be Cool podcast. And here with me is my co-host, Nick Nanny, who's going to join me in a debate about whether being in a fandom makes you cool. Something I think does makes you cool. Nick, thoughts?
You know nothing, Jon Snow. No, fandoms are not cool, okay? You know what? Because fandoms are cults that are centered around fictional people, and that is not cool. If we're going to make cults, and you know that I'm pro-cult, which we covered in our cult episode, they should be based on real people, like Jesus and the flying spaghetti monster, all right? These are people that we should respect. And, you know, this is why we're seeing society is, like, ripping apart in different factions, because people are like, oh, I belong to this religion, or I belong to, not that, I mean, I belong to Marvel, I belong to DC, I belong to Digimon, you know. We need to come back, and we should only have two religions, Jesus and Flying Spaghetti Monster, and that should be people's fandom, because otherwise we have madness in the streets.
Flying Spaghetti Monster. 'Tis that the fellow Redditor I spot? Little joke. But in all seriousness, you're way off base here. The reason why fandoms are so good is that they're based on these fictional characters and properties who are so much better than real people. I mean, name me a real person who's as funny as Sonic the Hedgehog, or a real person who's as cool as Sonic the Hedgehog, or a real person who is as hot and sexy as Sonic the Hedgehog. Pregnant. You can't.
Well, this is your problem. See, this is your whole attitude, and it ain't cool, honey, okay? Because that's the whole thing with fandoms. They can be cliquey and gatekeepy like you are being right now. And in fact, you know what? I used to be in a fandom, and this is why I'm anti-fandom, because I was in a fandom of people who made YouTube videos where they put songs next to photos of Harry Potter actors. And my videos never got the likes I deserved, okay? And so basically I was ousted, you know, and I started a burner account where I would comment very like mean things on their videos, allegedly, I should say, for legal purposes. But basically, you know, that was because I was kept out of that fandom. And, you know, Jesus and the Flying Spaghetti Monster, they accept all.
Well, I disagree. I don't think we want these fandoms that are open to everybody. Everyone complains about gatekeeping, but gatekeeping is what keeps out the antis. Do you know what antis are?
No.
Antis are people who judge your fan fiction and fan art. They say it's perverted. They say it goes against canon. They basically ruin the fun of fandom. A perfect example of an anti is someone that calls your pregnant Sonic the Hedgehog fan art weird when you use it to pay child support. Guess what? It's going to be worth more than any money I can give you in a few years. First of all, because it's brilliantly drawn. And second of all, it's because this fandom, the pregnant Sonic fandom, is growing and growing and growing. And I just wish you could see the truth and be part of this fandom. But only if you're a real fan, okay? No fake fans, because I am a gatekeeper.
Well, to quote maybe your fandom, I could do this all day, Captain America. Listen, Tony, The one true fandom everyone should subscribe to is being a fan of yourself, okay? You think Deadpool is cool? You can be like Deadpool too. You just need a few swords and a couple of gay jokes. Do you think, Darth Vader is the coolest guy in the universe? All you need is dark clothes and a breathing problem. These things are available to us. And also, I mean, I know you always knock my alternative lifestyle, but guess what? I'm a fan of my polycule. We're like the X-Men, and we all have depression. It's incredible.
Well, I just want to say that you keep talking about what's the true fandom yourself. The true fandom is, my opinion, pregnant Sonic the Hedgehog. But we're not going to settle this debate here.
That's right.
Just with the two of us. That's why we've got a great guest today, Sally Burtnick.
Hey, everybody.
And Sally's an expert on fandom. Sally, do you think that being in a fandom is cool?
So I've been listening to you guys, and I think you're having an interesting argument. I would say that first of all, right? What is cool? What does it need to be cool, the thing that you worship, or can you accept maybe this is kind of sucks and I kind of sucks too? But what I would say is that within yourself, if you're in a fandom, you know that thing is cool because of the other cool people that are in the fandom. And you know that those people are cool because they're in the fandom of the cool thing. And then you know that the fandom is cool because the cool people are in that fandom. So you know that thing is cool. And you know that yourself is cool. So I think that fandoms are cool. And I think that anything that gives you, like you were saying, a sense of self, identify myself as someone who is obsessed with magic TV, syndicated magic television, 1999 to 2012. That is what's cool about me.
And is
that's magic? I mean, I know what that is, but maybe you should explain.
Yeah, I know what it is too. But
maybe you should. But like, it's like some might say, that's like magicians doing magic tricks on television.
So I would say mostly romantic, demographically aimed towards young women. Television shows such as Supernatural and Charmed that were popular during that time.
I mean, I've seen them.
So magic.
Tony probably hasn't
Nick,
seen it.
I think, thought Magic TV was the name.
No. I was explaining for Tony.
Right,
show.
And maybe Magic the Gathering, I would say, which I know that Nick has a lot of experience with.
Sure.
So you're thinking about that, of course, and your experiences with that. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Supernatural.
I did.
Now, I heard that would you say you were ever part of the Supernatural fandom?
I would say that very much, and I would say it loudly and proudly. I am a member of the Supernatural fandom.
And now, were you into the fan fiction I heard where the two guys are brothers and then they...
Thank you.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
So
I know about
they
this.
Build a treehouse?
No, they...
Among other things.
Anyways,
it's what some people might say was some of the first slash fiction, which slash fiction is erotica. Okay, right. Do you know why it's called slash?
I know.
He might not know.
So it's one person slash the other person, which means that two people that aren't in a romantic relationship on the media are. Yeah. And so we had a couple of different slashes. The original was Sam / Dean, which is Sam Winchester and Dean Winchester, who are brothers. And so it was about the brothers. They love each other so much, and they really are so hot that you just want to see them have sex. So it's like they love each other so much, and they're showing it in so many different ways, but they're never quite getting to the sex part. And so the fans, who are the people who really understand the material more than the creators, obviously, are taking that into their own hands and creating the world the way that it should be, the way that they see it.
Now, I personally find that the two brothers hooking up thing a little weird, unlike sort of more normal stuff like a male hedgehog getting pregnant. But I heard that this fandom, the Supernatural fandom, became very toxic. This is something that's I'm on this website called Tumblr. For people that actually know about fandom, Nick has probably never heard of it, but on Tumblr,
I'm on there now.
Okay, well on Tumblr there became a whole sort of debate about whether the Supernatural fandom was toxic, and they were harassing these guys. They were actors to get them to admit that the two brothers were having sex. Is that true, or what's the deal with that?
So I think what it actually was is that they were harassing them to get the creators to admit that the angel was having sex with one of the brothers, the main angel that's also their friend. So
and I know about this because
of course
there's an angel.
So and not Angel from Buffy, which we can talk about too because I'm in that fandom as well, of course. But no, there was this thing on Tumblr like where a bunch of people just started posting pictures of this actor. And who plays Castiel, Misha, and they would just spam Tumblr with pictures of Misha, and they were getting really excited, right? They care about this more than anything else in the world, and the actors of Supernatural, they kind of wanted to make Supernatural and then perhaps not work ever again for the rest of their lives, because why would you? Mm-hmm. And so they just did conventions, and then just reap the benefits of the syndication, because when it's aired on terrestrial TV, you get money for that. And so they do these conventions, they make themselves really accessible to the fans, and then the fans, as they should, I think they deserve it, start thinking that these actors owe them something, that they start blurring the lines between reality and the fantasy of the show, and they think these actors owe them something. The actors are like, and the writers too, are like, I don't want to comment on that. I don't want to give it one way or another because it wasn't in the source material, the gay stuff. But they didn't want to say no. They didn't want to say yes, and that made the Supernatural fandom mad because they thought that was then homophobic, to not agree that the characters that are not written as gay are gay,
right, and incestual.
And of course, incestual.
Sure.
I will say that if you saw these two guys,
I've seen them.
You would wish to God and Chuck, who's the other god in Supernatural, that you could see them have sex.
And did you ever, and this is if you don't want to talk about it, write any of these like fan fictions or anything about this?
No, I didn't, but I tried to read some of the erotica, which I don't like. As a rule, it makes me uncomfortable, but I tried because I said, okay. And because I love the fandom and I want to support my people, obviously.
Right.
The biggest piece of Slash, or at least one that is the most highly regarded in that fandom, is one of Castiel, the angel, and Dean, the stupider brother. And they are being drafted into the Vietnam War, and it's about them. And they are at war, and they find love within each other in those confined quarters. And it's 1964 or something.
Now, just is this the show? Is it one of these shows like Quantum Leap, where they sort of go into different time periods, or did the creator of this fan fiction just put them there?
I think it's either. Let me.
And if you don't remember,
no.
It's okay. It just means you're not a real
Tony,
fan.
I remember.
Okay.
I remember. It's 3 times they go back in time, back or forward, and twice they go to different alternative dimensions. Oh. And then there's one alternative dimension that exists consistently. So I don't know how many times you want to count that for, but they go back to the 70s when their parents met. And I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Supernatural, Charmed, and the like, but I'm not a huge fan of history at all, and I don't really know what time period most real things happen in, but the fanfic is written in the Vietnam War, and they go back to like the 70s something. The fanfiction, I think, did kind of create its own world. It's not like they flash back to a certain episode and took it from there. It's like these characters always existed in this time period, which they didn't.
And that's what's known as fanon. Do you know what fanon is? Yeah, you probably don't.
Of course. Well, yeah.
What
Dakota and Elle. Yeah.
Fanon.
They're sisters.
No, fanon is when something is in so much fan fiction that it becomes canon.
Okay, I need to talk about.
I didn't. You were mispronouncing it. You said
fanon.
Fanon. Oh, yeah. Okay. Of course, I know what that is.
Because the fandom of Supernatural got so it enormous. You know, it led these guys to just not have to work forevermore.
It made incest more popular.
It did, of course. Yeah. And also, they took some of the stuff from the fandom and they incorporated it onto the show.
Right. I mean, now everybody and their brother now are hooking up.
Exactly. And you too, right?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
He's in my polycule.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who all are in your polycule? You don't want to air it?
Well, you should stay on the topic.
You're ashamed?
Right now, it's mostly me and my brother.
Okay.
But,
yeah. That's cool. I miss him.
Were you ever, as a part of this fandom, the supernatural fandom, were you ever angry at the actors or the people that made the show for either allowing the fandom stuff to get into the show or not putting in the fandom stuff in the show? Were you that kind of fan?
So as a scholar, the way that I kind of approach these situations is once I see that they are fully engrossing fandoms, and then the show ends, then a year or 3 later, then I get into it. Oh. So I got into Supernatural 2 years ago during my first big breakup, and I watched all 15 seasons in 3 months, and then I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it 6 times. But so I wasn't, in the current. I found out all about this later through people who had to kind of hold my hand and take me through this. But they talk about the fandom on the show. There's a whole episode about the fandom about Slash, put on by teenage girls. They make a musical.
Wow, Slash. It's not just the guy from Guns N' Roses
Which
anymore.
I thought it had something to do that first, when I first started my studies.
But you know what it really started with? Kirk/Spock.
That
was the original one.
Right, yeah.
We could talk about Star Trek, too. Another thing that
Now, speaking of which, so you're in a few different fandoms. Now, let's say that a major war breaks out in the future and it's fandom-based. Which fandom are you gonna fight for?
That is such a hard question. I think
I was gonna suggest maybe Sonic the Hedgehog.
I know, right? And of course, that's useful. Maybe just fairies as a concept, because that's you might not think that's fandom, but. For true fairy heads, about all the subspecies. Sure. You know about their countries of origin. You know what specific powers they have, what elements that they have control over. And we go hard, Yeah. We go hard. We wear T-shirts. We get tattoos.
But I think, from my study of fandom, is that most likely it usually ends up in more of a Civil War situation. Don't you think?
It
where
does.
Within the fandom, they turn.
Like how you fight with other Sonic.
Yes, he's pregnant. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. And that's where the fights happen. Because, for me, I'm a pregnant Sonic the Hedgehog fan.
Yeah.
If someone comes up to me and they're a pregnant Mario fan, they might as well just be aliens from another planet. I'm not going to interact with them. Yeah. But if someone comes up to me and they're a Sonic fan, we have the common language of Sonic, and then they say, oh, no, he wouldn't be pregnant. Now there's war. And
can I ask,
yeah.
Is there a disagreement between people who think that Sonic should be pregnant forever, I assume you, and someone who says, this character is pregnant, eventually he has to give birth and I want to see the baby?
I don't want to see that because then he won't be sexy anymore. Now, I have another question about this fandoms that you've been in. Have you ever been to a fandom convention?
Yes, I went to a Star Trek convention in 2015, 16, yeah. Star Trek Con, New York Star Trek Con.
And who was there? DeForest Kelley?
Captain Janeway.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
What's her name?
Captain Janeway.
She's great.
Yeah. But what's her real name?
Dakota Fanning.
It might
Dakota
be.
Fanning.
No, we got Janeway. We had Robert Picardo, who is also on Supernatural, and I got really excited.
Captain Picardo from Star Trek.
Different guy, but isn't that strange? And I think they may have hired. He played the Doctor, but not Doctor Who. Different guy, different thing,
Strange,
different thing, not Strange. But I think he might have been a DEI hire based on his last name being Picardo.
Picardo, yeah.
And of course, Captain Johnny Picard.
And with the O at the end.
Italian,
Yeah, they're
DEI
okay,
hire.
got it.
Yeah.
He's got to be a Star Trek.
Robert Picardo also, maybe one of the only fandoms I subscribe to, Gremlins. He hooks up with the girl gremlin at the end of Gremlins 2.
And
how do you feel about that? Because it seems like,
It's great. And I've written reams of fan fiction about it. Because
Like,
we
do you
don't
ever
see
think
enough
about
of
what
it.
if the girl gremlin got pregnant with a human boy baby?
Well, in my version of it, it's the other way around. The Robert Picardo
course.
gets
I'm so
pregnant
sorry.
Robert
with,
Picardo,
the,
yeah.
with the gremlins baby.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and again, it's all up there on AO3, Archive of Our Own.
Of course.
And I've written
yeah.
a lot of, again, maybe 200,000 words about this. So this isn't really the place to go into
Reams.
the reams. Is that a term? Reams?
Yeah,
of
reams
Yeah,
of
reams of
paper,
paper.
yeah.
reams, and this is digital paper, but it's megabits.
Yeah.
I've written 100 megabits of
That's
fiction.
amazing. We
Now-
got to preserve that website.
Well, my last question, I guess, for you about your fandom is that you got into this fandom late. You say supernatural.
Yeah.
Was there ever, when you were younger, was there ever a fandom you were in like while it was happening, and you were like, or you always just you hear about the stuff and then you get in the fandom?
Well, I mean, and I know that this is embarrassing for me to say now because it's such a basic answer, but Harry Potter, of course, and I did go to one of the midnight releases. I stayed up all night in a Barnes and Noble waiting for
Yeah.
the truck to get there when I was 11 and deliver Goblets of Fires. And I also submitted an essay in which I told them how much I loved Harry Potter, and I was one of 100 winners to win an advance copy of Prisoner of Azkaban.
Wow. Yeah.
I cared.
Yeah. It is really embarrassing to be into Harry Potter as a kid. Unlike me, I just got into it 2 weeks ago. And that's actually cool.
Yeah, that
Well,
actually.
I got
And-
into it through sort of the politics of J.K. Rowling.
Right,
which I
and what-
agree
and
with.
what's
I'm
your
just-
stance?
I'm
And
joking,
give
of course.
me
But
explicit.
What about when a creator kind of turns on the fandom? Do you think this is bad, or do you think it's inevitable that they're never going to be able to give the fandom what they want?
No, I as I said before, I think that the fandom is owned by the fans. I think that they know what's best. I think that the fans should be able to direct all future, continuations of the form. So I think that J.K. Rowling. I don't know legal stuff. Like I said, I'm not an expert on the histories.
Nick is an expert on legal
Oh,
stuff.
right. Small claims.
Citation number. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot about.
Right.
Yeah.
So J.K. Rowling, she even though she maybe does have some rights still, I think the fans at this point can just kind of write a Harry Potter movie again,
I think
get that
legally
made.
the fans have autonomy
Yeah.
over her. Yeah.
Because basically, there's more of us than there are of her.
Exactly.
So
There's only 12 or 16 of her. And
I'm
there's
from a
more of us.
I mean, as I mentioned in my argument, I am from I was part of a subsect of Harry Potter fandom. I never read the books or watched the movies, but I was, people who made YouTube videos where
I know.
we put photos of cute boys with, and
Yeah.
you probably have seen when I put Goo Goo Dolls Iris to photos of Daniel Radcliffe.
That was you.
That was me. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I saw that when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was. Yeah. I mean, if you were
were
8, I was
40.
probably
9.
7.
Yeah, 7.
7.
I was
You were-
0 when you were.
You were
8.
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Negative 5.
Okay. I like not a fan of real stuff, so I don't know anything about numbers. But no, I'm only 20 now.
Yeah.
So I was 8 then.
Sure.
Do you have a question? Because I've been doing a lot of research in this topic, but I feel like I've been monopolizing the question.
Sure.
Well, I have
guess.
a question for Nick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So you were like, fandoms need to be of real people. That would be cool. What about like, people who argue about the life and times of Frank Sinatra or the life and times of the John Lennon Beatle, who are like, he did this and then he did this, or what have you?
Well, are they arguing factual statements, or are they?
Yeah,
they're-
one has one fact and the other has an alternative fact.
I'd say that's okay, but I think it's straying away from the fandom of self.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're writing fan fiction where you're Frank Sinatra, where you're John Lennon Beatle,
Okay.
where
You're
the-
embody that. You're Muhammad.
Yeah.
You're Jesus.
I
You're the
mean,
flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
What
that's-
about
I mean, I think those figures are people that you can marry, but I don't think that you can you can be them.
It would dilute their pure form, but marrying them, maybe empregging them,
maybe impregnating them with the permission of your brother,
of course.
I think I think that, or writing fan fiction about you and your brother making out with Jesus, like that kind of thing.
And you should get permission, I should say, from everyone involved, including your parents, to any fanfic you're gonna write, regardless.
Yes,
so you kind of tell everybody in your life kind of corner them, tell them exactly what's going to happen in the fan fiction. Look into their eyes deeply and get their response before you write it down.
Now, what about talking about fan fiction? What about writing fan fiction about someone who's maybe not quite as high, like in the public eye as Frank Sinatra or something? Writing fan fiction about your ex-wife or something where basically, and it's not published publicly. It's just in a letter to her, and it's kind of very violent. And has a lot of threats. Is that a good kind of fan fiction?
Well, I think that the way that you should deliver that first, but you should ask her consent by face-to-face reading it to her and looking her in the eyes the whole time. Read the entire thing to her, and then ask her consent to write that.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
And then if she says no, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Too late.
It's already done. Yeah. It's already done.
I'm glad we had you on because this is like
it's kind of a hack. It's a bit of a hack.
All right. Well, this is really interesting. But speaking of writing, there's actually a writer, not of fan fiction, but of memoirs, sitting in the room with us.
That's right.
And it's Nick. And I've given him this segment, or we've agreed. Obviously, we're both co-hosts, but he's.
And we had another meeting.
We had another meeting, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. He said, well, then I'm not coming on the podcast. You can do it by yourself. So I said, okay. So he's going to read from something. Nick.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm excited for
this. Wow, it's
yeah.
leather bound.
Yes, I wrote a memoir. It's about my travels as a comedian, and I'm gonna read. We had a meeting this morning about. You were going to let me read a little more of the book?
Yeah, a little.
Okay, well, I'm going to
And this is realities.
This is reality. This is, my journey.
I'll give it a chance.
It's called My Trek Through the LOLs, and it's all about my journeys becoming a stand-up comedian. And
Trek.
I would immediately. Andorian.
Yeah,
Oops, I'm Andorian now.
Segment.
I'm Spock.
This is my segment.
I'm Mr. Spock.
I'm a Romulan.
I'm from outer space.
Okay.
I'm Romulan. Boo.
Great. Yeah.
That was just that was a character of satire of Star Trek. I'm Mr. Spock.
And Andorian is a character is a race.
This chapter is it's real. And it's about this chapter is about the first time I did well at an open mic. Okay, so. Sitting in the back of the room with sweaty palms. I'm so sorry. It's really fascinating, but we are kind of running short on time. We have some more guests coming in, so we're going to have to cut to the next segment, which is producer check-in. And, there's been a lot of talk nowadays. Here's a new AI app that can edit your podcast. Well, you know what? It's not going to do a good job because it doesn't understand complex topics like pregnant sonic, supernatural incest, stuff like that. And that's why we've got a real person to be our producer. And this real person is going to tell us how we're doing.
At the halfway point of today's episode, I'm really excited about how things are unfolding. Sally, Tony, and Nick have brought such diverse perspectives to the table, especially when discussing the nuances of fandom. Sally's insights into fan culture are always spot on, while Tony's humor keeps things light and engaging. Nick's passion for the topic adds so much depth, and I love how they all challenge each other in the best ways. The energy is fantastic, and I think this episode will really resonate with our listeners. It's been a pleasure watching this conversation unfold, and we're only halfway there.
Wow.
I can't, no, honestly,
such insights.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
I'm basically feeling honored right now.
Yeah, to hear that kind of praise from a real person with real experience in this industry.
You know what? I trust them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of people you should trust, how about guys?
Yeah.
If there's one group
You were
of
going
people,
for
I'll
the
see
guy.
myself out.
no, you can hang out because you're not like other girls. You can hang out.
And you know
in
what?
Guys'
That's
corner.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. I am
true.
one of the guys, so
You're a little
I'm
different. You're
guys
basically
corner.
one of the guys. You've heard of
basically, more or less.
sports and brewskis.
Oh, brews.
So this is called Guys' Corner.
Guys Corner.
And this is where we crack open a cold one. You want a cold one? Yeah.
There you go.
And this is beer with triple alcohol.
Yeah,
It's extra alcohol for people that want to. When you really want to get extra loaded with the boys after a long day working at the factory.
Wow. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Brewed.
It's you know what?
Brewed
It's like I always want beer to taste like it has as much alcohol as it does.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
really does.
I know, and brewed in California. Oh, no,
Governor Newsom.
probably made with soybeans. Anyways, this is Guys' Corner, and this is where we could just
We
kind
just
of
kind of let it hang out.
let it all hang out. Just talk
But
about
don't,
not our
No, of
junk,
course not,
junk.
yeah.
We're talking about just more like our what we're so mad about being a guy.
Oh my
And I'll start out with my thing that I'm venting about. I go down to the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom meetup to meet up with some guys. Talk about guy stuff, and everyone there. I'm going, what? Sonic the Hedgehog should be pregnant, and my fellow guys stare at me and they go, a guy can't be pregnant. Hey. Guys can do anything they set their minds to, all right? We invented the truck. We invented the brewski. I think we could be pregnant. Nick, anything you're dealing with as a guy?
Yeah, it's just how like your polycule, like they just like, oh, I'm into diaper stuff. It's like, okay, so then clean up my shit. You know what I'm talking about?
and he
like,
won't. Yeah. of
Yeah,
course.
and so now it's down to me and my brother, which is great because it's two guys. But it kind of gets old, like. Kind of just hanging out with your brother and seeing if he wants to make out, and you're not really into it because it's kind of weird, but it's two guys. So
But he's got to fall asleep sometime.
Hey,
He's got to
don't-
sleep sometime.
Don't say it's weird around the supernatural fandom.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? I love guys because I like when they can kiss each other.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about guys is that they can kiss. And I put up little I print out pictures of boys kissing. Just kind of you just kind of Google image search emo boys kissing or just regular boys kissing, and you can make a collage of that and you can put it up in your room.
Yeah.
And I do.
It's true.
That's nice. All right.
Guys.
Well, speaking of looking up stuff, kind of what you referred to, we're gonna react to some videos, and if this is your first time kind of going online, basically, it's a lot of work to think of interesting stuff to talk about. I think we've proven here that it's almost impossible, but when you show videos during a podcast, that fills some time with something interesting that you didn't have to
Right.
make.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that, and we're going to
But
be
we're
reacting.
also we're trying, we're really trying to go like viral here. So
Yeah.
if you like, we're trying to think of like ways to like react. That would be so if you could come up with like a pre-planned reaction.
Okay.
So like what maybe like
Okay, got it. No, I got it.
like oh man, put
Okay,
like maybe
Well,
mine,
I don't want to ruin the surprise, but
okay. I think mine I'm gonna be like put some steak on that.
Oh, you want it to be like a catchphrase.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay,
it
well,
could be, it could be,
I got
yeah.
it.
whatever you want, but it should be something that is that you can remember and do every time, and can just sort of work generally.
Right,
in case
okay.
you can't think of something new when the next video.
We're gonna cut out this whole like preamble thing, but like
Okay.
I mean you haven't cut
Let's
it
see,
out before.
no,
but like,
I'm gonna say.
but you should leave a note to cut this part
Yes,
out.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll tell
I'll do it,
I'll tell
you
the
know.
producer
Yeah,
to cut it
yeah,
out.
I love that guy.
But I'm gonna say my thing is I'm gonna say oh no he didn't. Is that a good one?
That's kind of
That's pretty good.
that's.
Were you gonna say that?
No, I was thinking about it, but
you
I
did.
think here's
want
If you want that one,
no.
you can have it.
Here's
Okay.
here's what I was thinking of. Well, and it's visual though. Is that okay?
Yeah, because
Also-
we're doing a
I know.
video,
Okay,
too,
so
yeah.
so it goes like this. Oh my god! Oh my god!
That's great.
great.
So
And
like that.
All right.
and
we're-
anyone who's just listening, Sally literally jumped out of the chair. It's
And
really
I
funny.
kind of grabbed my head.
All right.
Yeah.
So
you
the
know?
first video we have, and if you can look here on the computer if you want, is this. Oh, yeah, here's our next guest. Or just don't worry about edit that out too. All right, it's called This is called When You Finally Get Some Fan Art.
What the fuck?
Ooh.
Put some steak on that.
Oh, no, he didn't.
What the fuck?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Okay, sorry, and I should describe the video to everyone. Someone has been making this weird-looking character, I think, and they made it themselves, and someone drew a fan art of it, but it was weird.
Yeah.
Strange. Nah, it wasn't good as they wanted.
Yeah, I don't know what happened exactly in it because it's on a very fast loop.
Can I ask you how Sonic got pregnant? Did Sonic get pregnant by eating somebody, and then they were staying in his belly, or did he get pregnant with? How did he get?
Are you
Sonic?
talking about vor?
Yeah.
Vor
Boar.
is when you eat someone, I think.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
and then they live in your belly.
Yeah.
And it is often
Jonah and the whale.
Jonah and the whale.
No, Sonic got pregnant from what's another character on Sonic? I know all the
Tails.
other characters.
Tails.
Robotnik.
Oh,
Yeah.
both are good.
Robotnik. All right, this one is called. This is a fandom one. Homestuck. Have you heard of Homestuck?
Yes, I have.
This is a big fandom.
Is it a video game?
Well, that's what I thought. It's a cross between a video game and a webcomic. Can you believe it?
Gosh.
Basically, it's actually just a webcomic, but I tried to do it. You kind of have to do something that's like a video game, but it doesn't matter what you do. It just goes to the next page of the. Anyways,
Okay, so you feel
A
involved.
lot of the characters have. This is a meetup, so let's see what we can from this thing, and it's really popular. And this is the character
Put
thing.
some steak on that.
Oh no, he did it.
Oh my god!
And this is I'm just describing this. There's a Homestuck fan. Homestuck is about aliens and they have black hair and horns.
I'll tell you what, he needs to put some steak on that.
He's going juggling.
Yeah, I think Sally has gone. You've gone off camera, but
He's
it's
going
fine.
juggling.
He's going juggling. So, and Homestuck is a really big fandom and I think it's like a kind of a video game. And,
See if anyone turned into lost and found.
anyways, and they're at a Hooters restaurant in California, possibly, or Florida.
When was this published?
15 subscribers.
11 years ago.
11 years ago. So look it up.
It looks far
it's
older
called
than that.
Homestuck Meetup, Homestalker and the Lost Phone. All right, and we got one more video.
Wait, and Homestuck and Lost are different, right?
Yes, Lost is a show.
No, not
about-
Lost. Loss. Loss.
Oh, Lost.
Oh.
Yes, Lost is from a webcomic, a different webcomic. Called
Okay, there's
Control
two.
Alt-
There's two webcomics.
About a
Yes,
woman
just-
whose child
It's a
was
miscarriage.
stillborn.
Well, Lost is from the
Which
webcomic.
is why Tony doesn't want Sonic
Yes.
to give birth.
So this is the thing. Lost is from a webcomic called Control Alt.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another webcomic about gamers. And the gamer
of
gets
course.
his gamer girlfriend
That's awesome.
pregnant. But
Oh,
then
no.
the baby dies in the womb.
Okay.
All right, now
Which
let's look
is
at
why you don't want Sonic to give birth,
yes,
right? Yeah.
that's why I want him to be pregnant for her. All right, and now this one's called Marvel Fans Be Like. And this is our last.
Nick's
I'm
going
getting
like
a
that.
little bit sleepy. Oh, what the heck? Did you seriously just disrupt the canon event? Do you even not understand? What is wrong with you? You know.
Okay, sorry if you're
That
just
Thanos
listening,
should have kept you snapped
but-
He
up
was
like
wearing a
this.
Spider-Man mask
And then-
on a date, and he tried to go for a Spider-Man kiss. He got rejected,
You know, it's interesting. Oh, wait.
and then he put
oh.
some steak on.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, what was I going to say?
Did you seriously just disrupt the canon event?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
No,
Do
he
you even not
didn't.
understand?
That worked well for this.
And then he makes a joke about how the date should have been snapped away by Thanos.
Like in all of these videos, I didn't know when I was supposed to have my reaction.
That's because
Yeah.
they were funny for every single second. They were-
Yeah.
they were
Right, exactly.
Sometimes the video was so
Exactly.
good that the reaction would work at any time. All right, well, we've done videos, and now it's time for closing statements. I can go. Does anyone like to go first? I guess.
I think my eyes have been opened that fandom is a new form of religion, and I think there's room for all of it. And you know, I gotta admit, I don't really like hooking up with my brother, and I think it'd be better in fiction form for me to hook up with him,
And-
because it's uncomfortable. I'm not attracted to him. He's my brother. It's kind of wrong. I want my wife back.
It's wrong. You know what you sound like? An anti.
Well, yes, but also sometimes maybe, as I said, I don't like realities. I don't know what that's all about. And so you've already shown that you are an author, you know? And so maybe you should get an archive of our own account and do some writing about Slash with
You're
you
right.
and your brother.
Yeah, but you can't because
It is archived.
It's no, but because Archive of Our Own is for fan fiction. So you
But
can't
what if
just write
Nick,
about
I mean,
yourself,
listen,
think.
what if Nick
It
is a
stinks.
fan of himself?
Oh, yeah, and that was his whole point at the beginning.
I know.
So if the mods on Archive of Our Own start trying to take down our stories we write about ourselves and our relatives and all, you say, and they say that's not fandom, it is.
It is. And you tell them it's OC, and you tell them it's OC, and you say it's our content.
Our content.
Our own. Yes, Sally, closing thoughts on fandom?
Yeah. So I think that fandoms are cool. I think that when you are part of a fandom, you show that you have complete dedication to one or a couple things in the absence of any other interests or real life skills. And I would say, what's cooler than focus?
Yeah.
That's what I've got.
Locked in. And true
Completely.
fans are locked in.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Homestuck fan riding a unicycle who won't even take off the Homestuck hat,
He
even
won't,
though
and
it's
he'll-
making it harder to ride the
and
unicycle.
to go juggling.
All the way to me hanging out outside Sega headquarters for hours with a weapon, demanding they make a video game where Sonic is pregnant.
Yeah.
This kind of dedication is sorely lacking in other areas of our society where our ADHD-addled minds just scroll through social media from one thing to the next. Whereas...
Constant.
And that was... what was the point I'm making? That fandom
Dedication.
is dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm sorry if I have trouble kind of focusing
Probably
on one
from
thing.
the phones.
Yeah, because I usually just go on the phone, look at one thing to the next. Anyways, thanks so much for listening. It's been a great
Thanks
podcast.
for being
Thank
here,
you.
Sally.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stay
This was
cool, y'all.
amazing.